Welcome back. Today we're reading Chapter 6 in Apple Mary and Dennie's Lucky Apples. Chapter 6. An Unexpected Meeting. Jim, if you want to see the reason Louise wouldn't go out with you tonight, here it comes, Dennie pointed out that evening. Jim looked out the window at the approaching figure and turned away in disgust. You don't say. Now, what do you suppose she sees in that? He marveled. Money, Dennie told him. Anyway, that's what her mother sees. I don't think Louise likes him much. You don't? Jim looked encouraged. I hope you're right. Unfortunately, Dennie was also right about Louise's mother being interested in Bertram's money. The very next day, she decided to call on Louise at work and meet Mrs. Worth, of whom Louise had told her so much. That must be where Louise works, she murmured to herself as she approached the apartment building. Goodness, I'll say Mrs. Mary Worth certainly lives in a modest place for a rich woman. She would have been even more surprised if she had seen Mrs. Worth at that moment. For Apple Mary was just returning from one of her visits to the slums with her apple cart. This idea of going back to the slums dressed in my old clothes gives me a grand chance to see just where my money will do the best good, she was thinking as she plodded along behind the pushcart. If Louise would only give up this horrid nursing career and marry Bertram, she could have everything she wants. But she never thinks of me, her poor mother. Louise's mother was bemoaning as Apple Mary neared. Apple Mary was so deep in her own thoughts that she was not watching the street before her, and she shoved the cart full force into the woman ahead of her. Ouch! Help! Screamed Louise's outraged mother. Oh, whoops! I'm sorry, gasped Apple Mary as the back of the cart knocked the breath out of her. I'm terribly sorry I bumped you. Just carelessness, that's all, sniffed the other, haughtily pushing past her into the apartment building. I was passing by and thought I'd drop in, Louise, she was explaining to her daughter a moment later. Is Mrs. Worth here? Why, no, she isn't, Mother, Louise admitted regretfully. For a rich woman, she certainly has a very modest place, her mother noted critically. I suppose she skimps along and hoards her money. Mother! Bill Biff, who was visiting with Dennie in the next room, heard this conversation. Say, Dennie, who's the old gal in the next room? He growled. A tax assessor or something? No, she's Louise's mother, Bill, Dennie explained. She's sure given things the once over, Bill snorted, going into an imitation. You should see her, positively dowdy. Says she's poking this and that. As Dennie was chuckling over Bill's impersonation, Louise's mother appeared in the doorway. Louise, who is that creature? She sniffed, pointing out Bill. Mother, I'd like to present Mr. Biff, said Louise. Really? I wouldn't care to meet him, her mother broke in rudely. I'm going now. Remember what I told you. Well, Dennie, I don't seem to go over's hot and perlite sassity, Bill admitted when they had left. Gee, she was mad, Dennie gasped. Doggone it, Bill snapped his fingers regretfully. I've sure put my foot in. Jim's crazy about Louise. If her mother finds out he's my brother, good night. Meanwhile, in the basement, Apple Mary had changed back to Mrs. Worth. Through the window, she saw Louise's mother stalking past. There goes that woman I bumped into with my cart, she noted. She thought no more of it until Louise met her at the door. Oh, Mrs. Worth. Mother was here, and Bill Biff made her angry. Now she won't like Jim. And I did want her to. Your mother? Gasped Apple Mary. Was that your mother? Oh. She's coming back to see you sometime, Louise went on. You'll fix everything, won't you? I'm afraid so, muttered Apple Mary, absent-mindedly. I mean, yes, of course. What did Bill do, Louise? Oh, he was making fun of Mother, and she heard him, Louise explained. That's too bad, Apple Mary sighed. Bill's always getting into trouble with his clowning. Mother was peeved anyway, because some old woman bumped into her with an apple cart just before she got here, Louise went on. Really? Apple Mary seemed surprised. You know, I've seen that apple woman around here several times before. There's something familiar about her, Louise confided. I think she waves to Dennie. Next time I'm going to speak to her. That left Apple Mary without any answer. Louise is getting curious. What's going to happen in Chapter 7? Lucky apples at work. That's the end of Chapter 6. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll come back for Chapter 7. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.